So kind of along the lines, if you're line cleaning and if you've been using a medicator, you're going to have to figure out a way to do a stronger concentration, and you can do things like a submersible pump. They've come up with like the mix right, the quick mix pumps that where you can hook them in where the medicator hooks in to the line, and then just drop your hose straight down into the product. Here's the quick blend. It's a 3% pump that they've come out with. They've got it's got heavy duty hoses on it. It's got the little 3% tip that's pre-installed, so you don't have to figure out which tip to put on there. And it's accurate at the lower PSIs. And they're not very expensive. I think about $70 in the US. So I think these are coming to Canada, but here's an opportunity to get you a pump that's gonna, get you that better concentration for line cleaning. I do want to kind of also emphasize that line cleaning, it's good, but if you haven't done it thoroughly in the past, you're not going to get everything the first shot. And so that's kind of like coming in and, roughing up whatever, and then we walk away. And then now whatever didn't quite get killed, it's going to come up out of this beat up stuff, and it's going to go, okay, I got to fix a new house. I'm going to, where do I need to live? Because my old house is gone now. So you've got to keep the water sanitation pressure on. So whatever it's okay that you're going to give your birds, whether it's your chlorine dioxide, hydrogen peroxide, keep that sanitation pressure in the water. Don't just clean and then rinse your lines out with unsanitized water, because you could be setting yourself up for bigger problems, because now we've disrupted the biofilm and it's going to be looking for a new place to live. And we don't want it to go right down to your birds. Water acidification, this is something that's come up a lot lately. I use citric acid. Is that okay? Well, it might have some benefits for gut health, but what I just want to kind of tell you is organic acids, weak organic acids, they may just act like food supply for things like fungus or algae or those types of things. So I encourage you, if you're going to use acids, you might want to use it in conjunction with your sanitation program, because as you can see from these pictures, even dropping the pH to 4 with citric acid wasn't enough to make all the bacteria go away. So very careful just using acids, because you can cause some other things to grow and thrive. So what temperatures do you typically mix your dry products if you're mixing them? Okay, so whatever temperature comes out of the faucet. Well, if you haven't been quite getting what you thought you should out of something, maybe you might want to mix it with that warm water next time and see if you don't get a more uniform stock solution starting out. When we look at these two vials of water, the one on my right, clear, and the one on my left is blue. Well, the one on the right was mixed with cold water, the one on the left with warm water. So if we're mixing dry products, it might be to your benefit to bring a jug of warm water down from the house, dissolve that dry product, get it dissolved, and then you can bring it up to volume with your cold water. But most of our dry products don't just dissolve in cold water. Okay, water sanitation. Chlorination has been a great tool since probably it came over on the Mayflower, I'm pretty certain. We've used it for a long, long time in this industry, but we all know that it's affected by pH. If you're buying chlorine and then you're opening that bottle up, or you're storing it for a while, it's losing its efficacy. Cold water, it's not going to be as effective, so forth. But kind of the take-home message here is I think we've about worn it out. We're seeing some use and abuse to chlorine to the point where we're starting to see some E. coli out there that doesn't seem to mind if chlorine is in the water. So that's kind of telling me that we might want to get ready to change our sanitation program if we're seeing some health challenges. And along that line, this first got me thinking about it 2 or 3 years ago. We had this turkey operation, And of their 120 producers, the majority of them were chlorinating, acidification, and it was working great. They had really gotten a handle on their challenges, except for this one area of growers. And in that area, when they started brooding, about 3 weeks of age, they were getting hammered with E. coli, and they were just literally having to medicate their way the rest of the flock, and they were going to market with big toms at about 80%, with a lot of medication cost. And so when we looked at this operation, kind of after looking at it, we said, you know what? Chlorine's not working in these little guys where they're just not moving it, and they're not getting fresh chlorinated water to the birds. And even to that degree, it wasn't necessarily working. And kind of the common theme for all of those growers is they had these big concrete water holding tanks kind of buried in the ground. They never really got totally cleaned out. And now they kind of got this slime algae growing on that concrete wall. It was just kind of a harborage for E. coli. So we said, all right, chlorine's not working here. Let's switch. So those guys started using ProxiClean in the water. They mixed it up 4 ounces to a gallon. That was their stock solution. Ran it 1 to 128 with their medicator. They got rid of their E. coli challenges. And there's some of those farms that they never take their birds off the stabilized hydrogen peroxides now. So that was the beginning of us realizing, hey, maybe chlorine isn't as good as we always thought it was. So if you do think you might need to switch, or you may already be using hydrogen peroxide products, and if you are, we typically target about a 25 to 50 part per million residual. I encourage you to monitor it. It's in order, what some folks are seeing, there's some folks that have been on it for a while, they're saying, hey, it took more in the beginning, and now it's taken less and less in our stock solution in order to achieve our goals. And the stabilized products like the SID, the ProxiClean, the siloxicide, they're going to last longer in your water. So if you've got babies that, or your farm struggles with, 7-day mortality, maybe this would be something you might want to try to see if it's the water. And I encourage people to use the stabilized products because we mixed them up, different ones. The first one was, the 50% stabilized. The second one, the 20%, 34. And then a non-stabilized is my bottom one. And we put 2 ounces per gallon in a gallon of water. That was our stock solution for each of these. And then we ran them like we were running them on a medicator. And we made up these solutions like it was what the birds were drinking. And we said, okay, if this water just sits here, like it can with young birds and we're not moving it, how long's that residual going to be good for? And oh, by the way, at about day 2, we slugged it with bacteria and said, well, what if some bacteria comes along? How's that going to change things? And you can see the more potent the concentrate, the higher our residual was, and the more the stabilized products held their ground with giving us some residual. The non-stabilized kind of started fizzling out. So there's some places where I've seen them in the operations or, several farmers, they're struggling. They go to the stabilized, things get good, and then we start cutting costs. We go to non-stabilized, and they don't quite get the same benefits. So encourage you want to see if that might be influencing some health issues, water, use one of these guys and see if you don't get over the hurdle there.